I worked on it. It's a very rough draft. It's got some of Larry's comments on it, some of Michael's comments on it. It's a hodgepodge of Orions, Pontiacs, MTAs. It's a little bit of everything.
Okay, we'll talk about some other stuff first, and we'll close out with that. because that'll
Okay.
be-
Oh.
WODA, that's coming up. We budgeted for it, we approved the budget for it, but we still have to approve that. I get a meeting tomorrow, and then Kim's going next week. I don't know whether I'll be able to make those meetings or not, but, I'm going tomorrow to find out what all the particulars are. Originally, they were gonna set that up and start it yet this year, but they don't have everything in place yet that they need to. The articles of incorporation or whatever it is, I don't know. They don't have all the parts in place. Now, Dobry is Highland's attorney also, so they're working on trying to get ready, but originally they were gonna start November 1st, weren't they? Highland and White Lake were
I
gonna
believe
start.
so.
And Walled Lake has, their ordinance is a little different. So they're trying to get the particulars worked out on that too, so.
January 1 is the start date, that's the plan
Yeah.
at this time.
What is it?
January 1, 2020.
Okay.
1/1/20. But again, obviously won't go into effect because we don't transport on holidays and whatnot, so. The current one the school district has, if there's a school district snow day, WODA doesn't operate, or the senior busing, the disabled busing does not operate that day either, but this will no longer be attached to the school district, so they don't know what the particulars are gonna be on that, so.
I think it will be operating. It's
Yeah,
a plan.
But there's a lot of things that are planned, but they change, like people change their socks, you know what I'm saying?
Every
So
time we go, it
just-
changes,
So
yes.
generally said, so it's hard to keep up with, so that's why I'm going tomorrow and see what I can find out, and then we'll go from there. So, but it just, I did look at that email about the fees too, so I did look at that and her explanation. So, they're gonna try to sell 10 for $25. You know, a lot of those
10
times,
tickets.
yeah, a lot of times, those people don't have $25 at one time, so that's, again, and that was a concern we had before, you know. Sometimes people don't have any money, so to have $25 could be a problem.
Is that 10 round trips or 10?
No, it's 10 trips,
Rides.
10 one-way trips at $250 a piece, and then if you buy it,
Trips.
yeah, if you 10 for 25, $250 a trip, then you get one for free if you buy 10 up front like that.
So they don't have to do it that way.
No, they
Pay
don't.
as they go.
They
Okay.
can pay as they go, but the initial price was gonna be $3 each ride.
Oh, okay.
That was what it
So
was.
that's
That's what it
That's
currently
what
is
it
for
was,
water.
that's what it currently is right now, but for some reason they changed it to $250, so. Odds of people only going one way are slim and none, so you won't have to worry about 2 quarters, but they're talking like, there's a lot more people that have 5s and 10s than a 5 and a
One.
and a 1 or a 10 and 2 ones and stuff, so it's okay, but just, and then if they take 3 rides, now it's $750, and again, you're handling quarters again, so it's just.
It is for 55 and older and 18 and older,
Disabled.
disabled.
Disabled, okay.
Yes.
So, but again, just, things keep changing, so, but we'll get all the final stuff in place. I told them we gotta have it in place, so start applying for grants, like I said, get all the paperwork in order and stuff and go from there, so. That's where we're at.
So you said, is there an ordinance, you said, Gary, that has to be adopted for this?
Transportation.
It's an
No,
interlocal agreement.
Interlocal.
What's
agreement.
Dover doing in Highland Township for them? Is he doing anything with this?
Yes,
It's an
yeah.
interlocal agreement
It's an
Okay.
interlocal agreement, yeah, but,
between the communities.
yep. And that's 4 of us.
Okay.
Highland, White Lake, Waterford, and the
And
city of
Dover's
Walden.
doing the agreement for all of us?
He represents
Just
us
Highland
in
and us?
Highland, yeah.
I see, okay.
White Lake's got their own attorney, and then
Okay.
so does Walled Lake, so.
Okay.
But they'll get everything together, but it's, things keep changing, but it's,
Who opted
we're
out?
running out of
Did
time.
Commerce opt out? Was it
Milford did.
Milford.
Commerce,
Milford.
Milford,
Yes.
Okay.
Wolverine Lake,
Yeah.
and there was 8 of them originally, now we're down to 4. so.
Okay, so half of them opt out of.
They're doing
Yeah.
other transportation.
Commerce Township said they only had like 13 riders, so they
Oh, so
couldn't
they
see where
really
it'd be a
do.
benefit to them. But if you get a program there and publicize it, more people are aware of it,
Sure.
more people are gonna use it. So,
I guess it's,
but for a township with their population, they only have 13 senior riders, they're lucky. They really are, so.
Oh, you're saying it's not a lot, that's,
13?
yeah, I mean, that's.
No, we
that's
provide
very-
at least 6,000.
I gotta believe they got 30,000 residents out there, so.
Yeah, yeah,
They
that's
have
good.
13
Okay.
people that need senior transportation, disabled transportation, those are really good
Is it a
numbers.
senior center or assisted living out there in Commerce? You know, I'm just
Yeah, they
wanting to know
do.
why the number
Yeah,
is
they
13
do.
there.
But some of those places have their own
I was
buses.
gonna say, most
yeah.
of them have their own
Like Lawrence has a
transportation.
bus, and then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cass Lake
Yeah.
has a bus, so they'll take them up to Meyer, and they'll take them,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
they'll take them around to do
Okay.
that, so. Okay, this last Saturday, we had sign up here at the township. GFL came in, they brought six people and 6 gals and 1 guy. And I'm gonna guess we processed 300 people probably,
Yes.
yeah, probably 300 people.
I was asking Kim if the calls had calmed down at all. To your office?
Seemed like it was quieter today,
Okay,
you know. But again, like I said, I was on the phone with other stuff and out of office at 2 meetings, so it's hard to say. But,
okay.
you know, but seems like it might have quieted down some. Phone didn't seem to be ringing as much, but
I wonder where GFL is at percentage-wise of having the 11,000 customers, is that it?
I don't know. I don't know because, you know, some of them went, some of the old advanced went to TNR and kids both.
Oh, that's right, so
but-
they
but
couldn't
the
miss them
numbers were
all,
on
right.
that.
Okay,
I have been in contact with Waste Management, you know, there's a gal they've been doing they're on schedule. Like I said, their last pickup day will be March 27th, which is the Friday before we start with the new contract. So if that's a date, that week starts on the 23rd, ends on the 27th, that will be their last week of service, so.
okay,
And they're gonna, you know, they work with their customers about refunds and send all the notifications and everything out, so they'll be in good shape with that, so.
I
But,
said, GFL did a good job at my house this past Friday, leaves and everything. Came home, the leaves were gone, or they were still there Friday night, asked my wife, come in and fix it, I don't know. But they keep Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, and
Yeah.
I had like 8 bags out there.
They brought 4 extra trucks in Friday, and they brought 4 back again Saturday. to
Yeah,
pick
I
up
mean, 8
nothing
o'clock in the
here.
morning, they got them on, I was very
Well, I got an
impressed.
email saying that if you didn't get it picked up, they'd be there Saturday.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, my garbage day is Thursday, they got garbage and recycling, and I got home Friday night, the leaves were gone, so. But, yeah, they brought 4 extra trucks Friday and Saturday, just to pick up yard waste, so.
my neighborhood's still in an influx, they're not sure what's going on, like when the pickup day
I
is.
think one emails or some, one of your neighbors over there, wasn't it?
Well, so my, one neighbor who got the letter from Advanced and called GFL, left a message, and they'd had all the leaves out, and GFL came by, but they hadn't heard back from GFL, and they're like, can you pick these up? And GFL did,
That's okay.
without, just as a goodwill gesture.
Right.
Yeah, so I thought that said a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are doing some of that, because some of their guys don't even know. And
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Joel was talking, and he said that if you don't know, just pick it up. That's what he was telling the people. It's easier just to do that, he said, than to.
Mhm.
Well, they said some people, they've also flagged their garbage can and put, you know, GFL on it. you know,
Okay, I think these
we're
were
your
leaves, it was
customer
just
now,
the leaves
stuff like
bags,
that.
yeah.
But again, so,
Okay.
but again, it's a transition. But you know as well as me, if you wanna find something out, you can find it out. You can, I mean, you can find out anything you wanna find out, the information's out there. Like I said, we publicized it, like I said, there was 25 people walked in at 20 minutes to 9. 25 people came to the door 20 minutes early, and they were set up and ready to go, and they got a process, they brought in donuts and coffee, and then for the afternoon was Pepsi, Mountain Dew, and pizza, so.
Do you think they'll do another sign-up day?
I don't know, I'm waiting to hear back the results on that, and then
Okay.
yesterday was a holiday, so
Right,
we weren't available, so it just, plus it was crappy weather, nothing you could do much
That's
of
true.
anything.
true.
But, we'll get feedback on that and see where they're at and what they wanna do, you know.
Okay,
It went very, very well, as you said. Very, very little negative feedback. Again, most of the people were glad they were getting signed up. They pay with a credit card, they get paid with a check, you know. And a debit card, you get just, the payments was up. They made it as simplified as possible. People came in, filled out stuff, hooked it up there, got 5 minutes gone, in and out. So it was good for all, so worked out real good. Worked out real good, so, I don't know, but they're supposed to let me know by the middle of this week, which is tomorrow now, for where they're at number-wise and what they're
Okay.
looking at, so. But that's what that is, so. And then the other thing is we're post-budget now. Department heads are, you know, going back to Derek and Barb, you know, reporting back to him to confirm what the agreement was on the budget, where you're at, what was approved, what wasn't approved for clarification. If there's any other modifications need to be made. Derek and Barb and I went over post-budget again, rechecked all of our numbers to make sure we're all on the same page. Everybody got it, you know, what was approved, what wasn't approved, because you get notes written, all that stuff, and after a
you're
while.
right, you're right.
It's just thinking, that's in my handwriting, but what does it mean, you know what I mean? So you look at it, and I get arrows drawn over, across, and all these other things, because we had I took notes and transferred them over from the preliminary budget to the final budgets, and then the new notes and changes, so it was interesting. We got everything sorted out though, and we're in good shape. Good shape financially, so that's it. We're gonna have a positive number again, and that's been our motto to do that, so. Just, I still remember the first year it was proposed for a $2.3 million deficit. And when we came into that emergency meeting that day, you guys carried over, we had 5 new members on the board.
Yeah.
And when they said it was like 1.88 million, I mean, there's 412,000 we don't have to find, so I was ecstatic over that.
Yeah.
And then before the meeting was over, Derek Barb says like, what, 4.6% of the budget's a deficit. So it just says when I get into office on the 20th, I went back and talked to all the department heads, so we gotta cut 5% of the budget. That's it. So not laying anybody off, we're not cutting wages, we're not renegotiating contract, you cut 5% out of your budget, you know. So like development services, Sue got elected, they didn't backfill her position, and then you had Norma.
She's gone.
She left, she retired, and so did Bob Molina, they retired, so there was 3 positions, they didn't backfill, they just, you know, spread their responsibilities out, so there was a good chunk came right out of that, right there, just one department, but, and then when all was said and done, we were $5,755 in the black, and when you were talking, it was
That was
$2.3
close.
million red number.
Yeah.
That's not much, but I tell you what,
What?
it was a black number, it wasn't a red number, and it just, and next year we were 286,000.
We kept going up from year after year.
But again, like I said, it's due diligence and getting the stuff done, and
Well,
Good job.
the way it was done to the new board
Bragging
members was
time.
terrible. I mean, basically
Good
just
job.
threw it down, said, here, it's your problem now.
well, like I said, Derek and
Really?
Barb
You were there.
done their work.
It was your
We're
problem.
like, we're done.
Derek and
Yeah.
Barb had done their work, that was it.
Right.
They stayed on it and stuff, but like I said, and we weren't violating the Open Meetings Act because there was only 2 carryover board members, 5 new ones, they hadn't been sworn into office yet, so we were able to get together and meet them in 4.5 hours.
I
No
would think it
swearing,
was
no
maybe-
hollering.
You thought it was going to be a
Yeah.
It
meeting.
would be like an hour on the
Well, it
other.
wasn't meet and greet. It was a
But
rude
it's-
awakening is what it was.
Yeah.
It worked out well. and-
Cancel my plans.
Yeah.
Watch what you wish for, get elected.
Yeah, that's basically what that was.
It's nice to meet you, now we're gonna greet you
Yeah,
with
just
this number.
see you right in the lines.
And you're like, whoa, did I really sign up for that?
Well, that's what and that one number this year that was in red there, that $23 million number there, you know, in red, it was supposed to be in black.
Black, right.
Oh, yeah.
I still think
I was
Derek did
having-
that to be funny.
I was like having palpitations over that.
Cause I took it, I didn't do it black, but I took a dark blue marker and marked over it to make it as blue as I could, but I said, But I thought he was doing me a smart aleck, but just got printed out red, I think.
But it wasn't really red, but yeah.
Well, no, you can follow the
It'll give you a
numbers,
heart
you can follow the numbers
palpitation,
down
yeah.
and see it was, so they were all black numbers, so they had to be black, but it just ended up red. But it's, the red numbers get your attention, it's like a red light, you know, you
Yes,
stop.
it is.
So anyways, the post-budget, we're
Good.
in good shape with that, and we get the final stuff together, but, is that the 11th?
12th, I think.
12th?
The 15th, they want it all turned in.
Well, it's gotta be in the statement of 15th, but the meeting itself, it's on a
Meeting,
Wednesday night.
is-
Yeah, this month is the 13th, so it'll be the
Well,
11th next
yeah,
month, yeah.
11th.
11th.
That's the 11th.
That's right. Because
It's on a
December-
Wednesday- It's on a Wednesday night
it's
too.
a
It's
Wednesday
always
night,
on
it's
a
the 11th, so
Wednesday.
that means Friday is the 13th, and guess what?
Yeah.
Really?
December, Friday the 13th, and it's a full moon. Be an interesting day.
Means the snow's gonna melt, right?
I hope so.
I didn't say full sun, I said full
It's
moon.
it'll be another snow day. I still get snow days
Yeah.
at my house, so we're all.
Somebody at work said they're falling in sick already, so they're not coming yet, no.
What I do when my phone stops ringing on snow days.
So anyway, does anybody get this American city and county?
No.
I do not.
I do.
You get it, Margaret?
No.
Really? I thought all electeds got it.
We just got the MTA.
Yeah, that's all I get.
Okay, anyway, it says fear of a green nation.
Marijuana.
Is the headline, yeah, it's got, cannabis leaves there.
The new flag.
And the
it
new odor.
says- Yep. And then it says marijuana's legislation is gaining momentum. Local leaders can either capitalize on this moment or get left behind. So that's what the article's about. So what I'll do is, if you can, just go online, see if you can download it, and then I'll have Shelley send it to you. I'll have her scan it and send it to you. It's interesting.
Good nighttime reading.
It is, like I said, there's some interesting stuff there. Okay, and then, and then you flip over and look at this one, and it said, quote, drug driving on the rise in
Oh,
Macomb
geez, just drive around.
and Michigan.
It's the smell of the stoplight, every stoplight.
No,
You
but
see
I,
it, that's car wash.
Oh, yeah, I'm
I'm
sure.
telling
You've
you,
seen an
it's
increase in it,
ridiculous.
though.
And I've had a lady come, about 25, 20 years old, got a little 6-year-old kid in there, and the car was like Chicken Chong movie. I just blew all that. I said, you know what in the F are you doing? Well, I got my medical marijuana card, I go, I'm
What
sure
about
you
your
do,
child?
but, it just gets ridiculous, we see it all the time, like, see driving on the street.
Have you seen an increase of it since this is? since
Oh,
this
absolutely.
legislation-
This is
Absolutely.
really good reading, just so you know. It's called Lessons Learned from Marijuana Legalization in 4 U.S. states and D.C.
And where did that one come from?
This
Published
came
that.
from, reviewed by researchers from the University of Colorado at Denver, Harvard Medical School, Boston Children's Hospital, University of Connecticut, Yale University, University of Kansas, and more. It's for
What's
the
SAM?
smart approaches to marijuana.
There are
Smart approaches to marijuana. But it says www.learnaboutsam.org. So it's www.learn.
SAM, smart
Wait a
approaches.
minute, learn about
Yeah, learnaboutsam.org.
SAM?
Yes.
Oh, just email it to me.
I don't know if I have it in my email or
Oh.
how, but I can look. I think I might, I can look it up and send it to people.
Okay.
I should have printed it out, but it was a lot of papers. So it was kind of interesting. We were saying hospital and ER visits are increasing 210% in Colorado between the 4-year averages before and after recreational legalization, because what's happening is there's poisoning. It's marijuana poisoning for whatever reason.
Because the
It's a lot
percentage is so
stronger.
higher.
It's a lot stronger and
Okay,
it's.
but
But that's not the ones that are coming out of dispensaries, it's probably.
No, the
backyard
ones,
growing.
No, I
no,
think-
that dispensary we all toured, did you see the percentages on all of the samples?
Yeah.
18%, 48%.
30%, yeah.
They were all over, and I said to the guy, I'm like, what was the percentage like back in the 80s? He goes, oh, that was like hash. He He was, there was like 5%.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm like, well, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Why do we have to?
But again,
It's-
like I said, the potency of it, and then you're back to the days, that was the Mexican weed, Acapulco local weed, they used to call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
No, you're
just,
right.
but again,
Colombian gold.
that, just like you said, and then they started getting Hawaiian weed, and it just like doubled or tripled, and, you know, it's, like I said, it's, but the price.
So the emergency
It's true,
room
yeah, if you look
visits.
at what is per ounce at that
So,
dispensary.
why are they ODing on the stuff, or is it
No,
something
you
that
can't,
they're,
you can't overdose on marijuana, you can't.
was it putting poison, or why are they going to the ER? Are
Well,
they just getting too high?
It could be heart rate, it could be blood pressure, it could be.
Well, but again, like I said,
some are selling to minors.
but you look at this information and understand, one will tell you that, and then something else will tell you the
Thank
exact
you.
opposite.
It will,
Right.
So
it will.
you have to look at the source of the information,
It is on the website.
you know,
yeah.
so it just.
It's
if
on their
it's
website, you
Pro
just go
marijuana,
there.
it's
Yeah.
really good stuff, and if it's, you know, anti-marijuana, then it's gonna
Bad,
be, it's
real
gonna be
bad.
negative.
The
So you- but
cost-
you
The
have to
worst
look at
thing back in the
source of information.
sixties is they processed that stuff with dirty water, and people get dysentery. from
Yeah.
it.
And it says butane hash oil explosions have resulted in at least 30 burn victims between July of 2015 to July 2016, costing $5.1 million in total treatment costs.
Isn't that the vaping?
That's in Oregon. What's that?
That's with the vaping, right, because of the butane? I think
I
that's
don't
with
know.
the vaping.
I don't even know. It's, yeah. There's 50% increase in illegal grow operations across rural areas in the state. Which is, anyways, it is out online, and Karen
I
just
think
showed
I
it to
can,
me.
I think I can send it to
And-
everybody right now.
But it's from the states that have put this in, you know, a while ago, and it's just saying the health impacts that it's having, the potent, you know, the THC potency is a lot higher.
Well, we know the car insurance rates went up in Colorado, what about medical costs? What about people who have
I'm
medical cards?
sure-
Are their rates gonna go up if they are reported going in frequently for doctor visits?
I'm sure all of our rates will go up.
And
Well,
this
their
is-
rates.
This
There's
is
a
also
lot.
interesting
That's
too.
how this works.
The industry has proposed selling marijuana-infused edibles that come in the form of cookies, candy, ice cream, sodas, and other sweet treats that are particularly appealing to children.
Mhm.
So it gets the children thinking these are wonderful treats.
Yeah.
Well, that, yeah, and that's,
Then I did have one lady call today, as a matter of fact, and she just wanted to express it. She feels that marijuana helps her. She's got lots of different health issues, and it makes her pain go away. And then I asked her, well, so she was pro, because I guess there's flyers going out around Waterford, just so you know, for them to show up at the end of this month at our.
so that was actually one of our questions. Do you mind if I pop in here for one
So
second?
I just wanna say that she said that, I asked her, I said, would Pontiac be too far for you to drive to go get some? And she said, oh, no, that would be fine, that's right next door, for like dispensaries. So she was not,
They're doing something big like they did in our township over Glenwood and Perry, the old Kmart over there.
Yeah,
I just seen something on the news.
I was on the Oakland Press, they're
Where?
having a
Glenwood.
marijuana
Oh,
mall,
Glenwood Plaza, yeah.
A marijuana.
It's
It's
gonna be
a
enormous.
whole,
Yeah.
like, conglomerate
Yeah,
of,
it's gonna be,
Growers,
I mean, it's gonna be something like.
dispensaries.
Yeah.
we don't need dispensaries, do we?
Dispensaries and everything there.
Oh, my
But you
God.
know, just talking about the elections last Tuesday, I think Eagle Harbor and a few municipalities shut it down.
Yeah, they
Yes,
did.
they
Voted
did.
down by-
and that
They
was,
sort of go back
that was
60%.
with the
Yeah,
referendum.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was.
Yep.
yeah, so, you know, people are just saying, no, we don't want it here, so.
I think, you know, if it's used for medical reasons, yeah, it might be okay, but the problem is that it goes further, right?
What's the recreation? you know,
Right,
up to
right.
the state that it's.
And the medical ones can also do recreational eventually. It's gonna be like a liquor license, right? That's
Well,
what
it
the one
kinda
that we
is
toured
now.
down in
Yes.
Ferndale, they're getting ready to go recreational,
Sure, yeah,
so.
they're gonna go where the money's at, that's where the money's gonna be.
Wild Lakers, all right.
But there was a few communities that shut it down this past election. I just remember Keel, because that's our next door neighbor.
Is that
And they had to
right?
interview some lady on the news, and she said, well, if you want, go to Waterford. And I'm thinking, Are you stupid? We don't even have it in Waterford. I seen it on the news, I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Yeah, you go to Waterford. So. Oh, you said, like just Gary just said though.
Did you
hear
find
from
that online?
One group and another.
I
Yeah.
did, and I'm trying to send it, but I can't, I keep getting it bounced back.
Oh, I got it written down, I can go and get it.
Yeah, I got it too.
You could check that out
Hey, just send it to me.
there. Sure, I could do that.
I'm trying a different method here. So one of the questions Kim and I stumbled upon as we were putting this together, there's the opt-in, opt-out option December 5th. So hypothetically, if communities do nothing, they opt out. If they want to verbally opt
If
out.
they do nothing,
then-
they're out. They haven't opted out, they're
Oh,
out.
just out.
They're just out.
Is that a hard thing then? You can never opt back in, you're done?
No, I have no idea. Like I
Yes.
said, we're gonna have Dobry come to our board work session on the 25th before the board meeting.
Okay.
Have him come in.
Can we send him
and-
questions ahead of time?
Yeah, send them to him
Because
ahead of time.
He,
and-
okay.
Yeah, if you get questions, send them to him. And then, because I called him probably Thursday or Friday of last week, I don't know if we needed to do it at the board meeting, or I said, no, we're just gonna kibitz back and forth and go over stuff. Kim and Karen have been doing some research and just go over stuff. I said, there was somebody sent me some information today from another township, Meridian Township, just recently opted in, and they got like a large development going into there. And it's gonna be a facility similar to what Liv was. It's a facility similar to that, but,
Okay.
so I guess they were gonna send me, in fact, Shelley found the website and got the information
Okay.
about their ordinances and stuff, again, stuff to review and see what it is. Meridian Township, I know of it because I met people from there. In fact, that night, we were at that meeting.
Lansing.
Yeah, no, for the retirement, there was
Yeah, the
people
Lansing there.
from Meridian Township
Right.
that at our table that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was, those two people said it was a group of four,
Yeah.
and they knew that they were from Meridian Township. So,
Yeah.
again, I won't say it's a rural township, but it's a smaller township, so. And again, it just.
It's sort of rural, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it's at, but again, like I said, it's just, but they're talking about a development there and having a facility and like that, so, there's some interesting stuff out there.
So do we don't have to have an ordinance in place then by December 5th, do we?
That is a question.
That's the question.
Well, I mean, the question, okay, now I got a question, if we do, we'll have Gary Dobry come in our next meeting, we get an ordinance? I mean, that's our last meeting before
Yeah.
December 11th.
And you knew how long the garbage one took us to do. I can only imagine how
No,
long
you're
this
right,
is
you're
gonna
right.
take
This
us
is what
to
we
do.
proposed, we just gave it to you guys as
Okay.
a draft.
It's a very rough
Draft,
draft.
it's a very rough draft, there's some,
And it's a culmination of 3 different ordinances, but there's a lot of questions that only people can answer that we had in
yes,
all of these.
right.
So before we go any
Such as-
further,
A community action plan, such as a point-based system, and we would have to maybe have a committee that would review the applications, because I don't know how we can stop us from getting,
Still read all changes?
yeah,
Yeah.
legal penalties.
well, those are suggested things to think about.
All right.
Yeah, suggested thing, the red and the blue. are
Larry and Rob had both given me some feedback when I sent it, that's kind of there. When we went and saw the Live guy, he had said, Ferndale, when he applied, that they used a point system, because you can't do a lottery anymore, that's illegal. The state has said you can't just pick names of applicants, you can't do that. But you
First
can,
come, first serve, or what?
you could, maybe you could do first come, first serve, but what most municipalities have done is a point system. Like, what's your community action plan? How many people are you gonna hire? And I went through and I put down Pontiacs, they have a point system, and I think a lot of it is, we're all gonna have people, well, I don't know that we all are, but there's a number of people that we know that want this. And what made us pick one over the other, and we need to have some transparency as to why.
So we don't
Okay, so
assume.
like, is it like if they're a resident or a non-resident,
Well,
is
you
there
can
points
see,
for that?
yes, you can
Yeah.
see,
If
this
you
is what
currently own a
Pontiac.
business or
Yes,
going with
this
business,
is-
is there points for
Yes,
that?
We could
that's,
do that,
yep,
yes.
there, it's, the number of full-time, part-time positions the applicant intends to create. the planned philanthropic endeavors or community involvement plan.
It's mostly
That's
in the red.
completely legal, that the state said that they can submit, and how many, this is just Pontiac's, but it was also in one sent from the MTA, worded a little bit different.
Okay,
So we don't have to do these, but this is what they did. And yeah.
So the other question is, so if, we're not sure, this is a Dover question too, about if we did nothing at this time, and then a referendum were to come here, we would know that it was going on ballot at least 60 to 90 days ahead of time, I believe. And then at that time, though, do we just have all of this ready to go and then
Well,
pull the trigger?
that's what we have to ask him, but
Right.
once they make it known that it's going on the ballot, then you react to that, is it too late?
The MTA person
Right,
told me that was a great idea,
Yes, Catherine Mullapart.
the MTA lawyer.
Yes.
To what?
To have it ready to go, and if they have to file, and, you know, somebody had time, and you'd have enough time then to institute an ordinance. And I said, would our ordinance supersede, but if anything passes? She goes, it's a completely ambiguous legal question, it would go to court.
Right. There's a lot of this stuff.
That's what she,
There's
the
gonna be
questions I was
litigation.
asking her, she goes, that
A lot of
would
this.
probably go to
Because
court.
again, they got the cart ahead of the horse on this.
Yep.
That's my opinion, it's
No,
not fact-based, but it's.
It is fact-based.
And they have a lot of
They got
money
the cart ahead of the horse.
to take us to court.
They
So
didn't
the
have it.
referendum
None of
has
this
to
stuff
be
was
so
in
many
place.
signatures, right?
5%.
5% of the registered voters in that municipality.
Okay, so let's say they get the 5%, so the referendum is there. Is there any timing, or timeline when that has to be put up on a ballot? It doesn't have to be a special election, it can be on any one of our election cycles.
It would have to be on that. It would have to be, it would probably go in the 2020.
Probably the primary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can't have a
Probably.
special election for
Probably
that.
the
Probably
primary.
Primary or general
What is it?
election, I don't believe it would be on the presidential primary,
Yeah.
but the primary election or the
Right,
general.
August or November, yes.
But in fact, it had passed in 2008 at 68% and in 2018 at 66%. Odds are it would pass again, I'm just saying. But again, there's other municipalities that recently
shutting
shut
it
it
down.
down.
People are shutting it down.
So
There's
it
traffic
depends.
concerns,
Yeah,
environmental concerns. Do you think growing
I
it?
think people vote, so yeah, I'll vote yes on it, but then when it comes in your neighborhood or your town or villages and not my backyard.
Exactly.
You know, that's
And I
what-
think that's
I
what's.
think that's what we're starting to see now, like with Keto and the other places that said no.
And the, and it was Orion's, and even Pontiac's alluded to this too. The process when they submit an application, and these applications are quite large, and they say, not they, but apparently, when you do open it up, you're gonna have a flood of applications. You're gonna need somebody to vet those. And that would fall on Kim's office. And Kim
It
was
says the
talking that.
clerk in all of this, the clerk's office. the
And,
clerk's
I mean, are
office.
we gonna hire somebody to vet, and that's not to, that's just to say that they filled this out enough to move on to the next process. Or they haven't, and we have to call them and let them know what they're missing.
And there's, I think it was 7 days, and I'm saying I need at least 10 days.
That's it, the Orion had all these timeframes in there, and we're like, is that legally required to have those timeframes in?
So what would be your purpose of forming a committee then, if the clerk's office got to do all the work?
All
what's the
they're
committee?
gonna do is vet these applications are huge, and you have to go through and make sure everything's been filled out. Then you give it to the committee, because they're completed applications, and then you go through and you do the point system.
So the committee will do the follow-up on
Yes.
that
The
then.
point system, yeah.
Yes, and they talk, Pontiac and Orion's talked along about, okay, you're gonna have this many days to submit it, so we have to get back with you and tell you it's not complete. And we have this many days to tell you what you need to do to complete it, like it was very.
It was very specific days.
Yeah.
So that's an hour less that we have to.
I
So if an
guess so.
application is incomplete, it's
Toss it.
No, you have to call them back and tell them where,
and tell them what's the
where they're
problem.
deficient.
Right.
And we don't know if that's Orion's, but it's also in Pontiac's, or if that's a legal,
Just call Chris Barnett and ask him if
it's in there.
It is in here, so we need to ask Dover if that's a requirement that we
Again,
have.
put these questions down.
But they're on here. They're in the red.
Yeah. Okay.
What was the other thing? And they're to say that application fee, that $5,000 application fee, that doesn't guarantee you a license, that's just to apply, and that's actually to
Right.
cover the cost that it's taking.
Is that non-refundable?
Yes,
That's non-refundable?
yes, and that's what's supposed to offset if we end up having to hire, I don't know, I don't know.
Well, when
We're
you
never gonna
say-
go through all of these.
When you say non-refundable, does that mean if that person is not selected?
Well, I
doesn't
just
get
think that's
$5,000
just
back?
you shooting the,
So it's basically a crapshoot if they decide they want to be considered for a license.
Well, that, if you're gonna put $5,000 out, I would hope that you put your best foot forward, follow the rules, fill everything out as requested, and give yourself a better chance to be chosen, so. I think, they said you were gonna have one person, you probably, one, they don't call them dispensaries, what do they call them now, provisioning center.
Right.
You're gonna have one provisioning center compared to 4 or 5 provisioning centers. You're gonna get fewer applicants for the one, I would think, because the odds are, say that you might get 10 for one, but if you had, if you had 4 or 5, you might get 60 or 70 or 80 or 90 applicants because there's more chances of getting selected. Who knows?
see, and Orion had like that they were gonna give out 6 Class C grower, 2 processor, 2 safety, and 2 transporter. They're not doing any dispensary, so you have to specify in your ordinance
Yeah.
how many you're gonna do. And this ordinance was geared towards a non-provisioning center ordinance.
But again, like you said, so then I have to ask again, not knowing the law, so, okay, so say like we had one provisioning center. We didn't have any transporters. How did they get the marijuana into Watertown if we don't have a transport license for somebody to transport it?
Well, I think that the transporter license just is a headquarter thing, and that's just me interpreting it. I don't know. I thought that like you could have, this is your headquarter transporting, this is where everybody dispatches from.
Well, that's the same question too.
Yeah,
Just
but
say that too.
they're licensed to operate in Orion Township,
Well, they're licensed to operate as a business in Orion Township.
right?
Like a.
Once you take your business across the Orion Township line, does
But
that,
their business is driving, it's like a taxi
Right,
cab.
right.
Their headquarters are
Right.
in Detroit, but they can go all over Metro.
we're not talking about taxi cab, but we're
No,
talking
but no,
about somebody
what I'm saying is,
Transporting.
they're, yes, that's their,
Right.
and that's
understand
how
that.
I'm interpreting it, because
But-
you're right, that needs a license.
So let's say if we had 2 grow facilities in Waterford, they would contact a transporter from outside of Waterford to come pick up the
They'd have
weed
to.
and take it to the provisioning centers that are outside of Waterford.
Okay, so how is it a benefit to Waterford Township if somebody else licensed and there's no revenue in it for us?
I've talked to Dave Batten, I did talk to Mike Houseworth who wants to do it, and they will tell you, and the guy that lived, there's absolutely no money in it for the municipality.
Well, I understand
No,
that.
it's not.
There's
The
not.
$5,000 non-refundable
But that-
fee and the $5,000
That
annual
won't even
fee.
cover the
and
time
then
that's
Then
put
the
into
person
it.
we have to hire to look through this.
The,
No, I
the,
understand.
the
Right, right.
financial benefit, which is completely subjective and intangible, is what's their community action
Action
plan?
plan, the community action plan.
And to beautify an area that
Right.
needs.
And
to
there could be
beautified.
power concerns. I think they were saying that there's been brownouts from areas
Scott had said that, yeah.
that these plants come in and do this, it drains the
They
power.
use excess
They needed
utilities.
to, we need to check with DPW and DTE and, the airport for some reason, he mentioned that.
Yeah.
It was Rob
You're
Marinsky
looking
saying
at
that.
Waterford too.
Consumers.
Waterford Township's on a well system.
I did bring that up, and
And
Rob said
about
that,
the streams
the
and
wellhead protection,
Yeah, the wellhead, I saw that.
yeah, and the DEQ, that it would have to go under, he referenced where it would have to be addressed in our general zoning ordinance, that they would have to be under their, I've got it here, his
If they grow
response.
too much, do they get to burn it and then it just smells, the odors come?
Well, that's the thing with the growers, is they have to exhaust the air out of that facility, and is it gonna be a smell?
Well, it's a filtration
Yeah,
system
yeah.
they're supposed to use, and if you discharge it up high enough, there's not gonna
They
be-
are held to the same fire code and like the buildings have to be inspected and they have to be approved by the planning commission. And like if you go on Pontiac's website, there's a link that you can click on that'll take you to a map and show you the areas that have been approved.
Yes,
It's an overlay,
it is an overlay.
and there's 40 sites, but that doesn't mean there's anything for sale.
In those
These are just the areas
That you can put some.
Oh, that have fit all of their
Well, the
ordinance
Glenwood
conditions.
Plaza's, that's what, huge.
Yeah.
What's that?
Glenwood Plaza, that's gonna be in Pontiac, it's gonna be huge. I think it's gonna be growers, processors, you know.
It's a whole marijuana mall.
Is that the Glenwood
Campus.
Plaza?
Yeah.
Is that
Mega,
the one?
mega
Did you
mall,
say? The one?
mega marijuana mall, MMM.
All marijuana.
Mega medical marijuana mall.
Where the old Kmart is,
Hmm?
where the Kmart is or was,
I think that's what, yeah, that's what it's.
Glenwood and Pierce Street.
Wasn't there a Kmart down on Perry Street at one time?
Get Perry and Glenwood.
Yeah.
Perry and Glenwood.
Perry and Glenwood, okay.
Yeah,
Now one on Dixie's closing.
yeah, they announced
February.
that,
Yeah.
They did announce that?
Well, announced it the other day.
yeah.
Oh, I thought they were gonna keep that one open.
Corporate decision.
So these are all, anyway,
Has anybody heard any pros and cons as far as attempted break-ins into any of these facilities? I know the security's supposed to be tight, but, you know,
I don't know, I haven't necessarily come across that yet. But it's gonna be taxing on our police
I can
department.
imagine it.
Our fire department, if they have to make more emergency runs because children have overdosed or whatever, I don't know. They ate too many edibles, who knows?
Personally, I just don't think it's gonna be a benefit to us
it's,
at all.
it's not, and they,
Yeah.
people, the businesses that wanna come in have told us that other than what they can do for the community. But there's no, the one gentleman I was talking to, and I'm like, okay, so say you do this wonderful community action plan and you're gonna do all of these things and then you don't.
Then what do we do?
What do we do? And he goes, well, you don't. And I'm like, yes, that's just it. We have no recourse.
But again, the one thing we do have to understand, don't turn a blind eye to this. Because if you do, you're delusional.
You're right.
No, we've
There are
invested
people-
time
We
in
got
But
it.
I'm
one step
saying,
ahead of them.
there are people, whether we opt in or opt out or anything, that are gonna be driving, as we sit here and speak, there's
Oh,
people
I sit next to them
consuming
at stoplights all
marijuana,
day.
and there's people driving through Waterford Township right now, and there's people making decisions under the influence, whatever you wanna call it. It's gonna continue to go on. I'm not saying that's the reason not then, I'm just saying, understand, it's gone on since I was in high school and before that. It's never gone away, it's never gonna go away. The only difference now is it's legal.
So it's increasing.
That's, the only difference is now it is legal.
So the
And we
volume is
make a
increasing.
decision whether to opt in, opt out, or do nothing, but regardless, it's still gonna continue to go on. It is, and it's legal.
Talked about it, yeah.
The other night,
So that was our
when the police
question.
pulled a guy over with 3.5 pounds of weed in his vehicle,
I know.
and they turned it over to the prosecutors, I said, sorry, we're not touching it. We're not touching it, it's legal.
So what happens if an accident, a fatality accident is involved and the person that was responsible was on marijuana?
But again,
Cancel it,
but
You gotta first prove it.
Same way as the
again,
DUI.
the burden of proof, the different scenarios that I've heard of, it just like I said, it just, and you can see some of that stuff at the point it's at will disappear in a short period of time, and I believe that's the THC level. You know, so by the time you get them in, get to the hospital, get them tested, well, it's down and up, and then the carryover, you know, like you stay in your system 30, 45 days, whatever it is, okay. But were you to that point, you know, that you were affected by that or not? So the burden of proof falls back upon the local police department, local prosecutor, you know, whatever the situation is. Like I said, they got the cart ahead of the horse. They have all this stuff in order, all these laws, all these rules, all these regulations, everything,
And no matter how I feel about
before
it,
they put it in the
personally,
ballot.
aside from the township, has no bearing other, the state needs to redo their financial distribution. It's like an unfunded mandate to municipalities,
Right.
and that's how I'm interpreting
Yeah,
it, like,
sure.
okay, guys, I'll have to handle it, we're gonna collect all the money and, I don't know, there you go.
Just
You
go
can get
back and look at
You
your,
can get, yeah. a
just go back
5,000.
and look at your state revenue sharing.
Well, I
chart.
know, but
You
it's
don't need to go any
just-
farther than that.
Yeah.
But the whole premise of this was that it was all this money.
Right.
Well, where's it going?
To the state. And then the county
On
gets
our
the next
backs.
biggest chunk.
Right.
But-
On our backs,
Okay,
on our
look at
backs.
your state revenue sharing, look at the amount
Okay.
of money that goes out, and look at the amount of money that comes back, and then look at the amount of money, I gave you guys those charts.
I still have them, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a travesty.
Detroit,
In my opinion, that's a travesty.
it is a travesty.
And they
so
did, I don't
if
know
I
what
would
year it
approve
was, but they guaranteed that Detroit would have a minimum amount of money, period. It would never be less. It could be greater than that amount, but we never, Forget about everybody else.
Mhm.
Right.
There's 1,240 townships, forget about it. 532 other cities and villages, they're guaranteed a minimum amount. They're gonna get
Conflict
that
of
money.
interest.
So again, so.
It's the people of Lansing, they're bought. You know, well, he's buying.
But again,
And
so-
they're
They've got
But
done.
very
you just look at that SRS, and that's the same thing with this here. It's going to the state, and they'll distribute the funds accordingly, and some people are gonna benefit greatly from that, and other ones aren't gonna get diddly squat, so. Again, it's a big.
And they're only taking 10%. If I was
Oh.
the tobacco industry, I would beat at that door. Why aren't they having the same tax we do? Alcohol?
So it'll be the night with ATF will now become ATFM, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and marijuana.
I think it should.
They'll have a fourth digit added, to still be an alphabet agency, but yeah, but it's, but again, like I said, as it's proposed, yeah, there's all kinds of money. For who?
Not for us.
The business people, and you're supposed to be in business to make money, I understand that. But again, like I said, in the fact right now that it's a cash-only business, although
Credit
Art
union.
was talking,
Credit unions can.
they're,
Right.
well, they're coming on
Start,
board, but they,
yes.
it starts somewhere, but the bottom line is, what happens if something happens, and FDIC says they're not gonna insure them, or credit
The
unions,
Fed's not gonna insure, you can't put it in Chase Bank.
you know,
Might
are
put it
credit
in a
unions
little credit
FDIC or
union.
not?
I think they all are up to, what, 250, 150?
Quarter, I think
Yeah.
it's a quarter million, but
Quarter
okay, but I'm
million.
just saying, that the federal government says, no, hold on, time out, that's a violation of federal law.
Absolutely, they can.
So,
I know some
Okay.
candidates that might want that.
well, I said, there's some more litigation for attorneys to make money, and there's somebody making a bunch of money, but not the municipalities.
Yeah.
But again, it's a cash-only business, so let's say, yeah, I sold $10,000 worth of weed last week, but I'm only gonna claim 3,000.
Sure.
Who's
Right,
gonna know?
who's gonna say anything? It's
Who's
not
gonna
cash.
know?
Again, so again, like I said, so there's more money that's not going into the taxes. So again, it's just, there's just, like I said, every time you're looking, for every good thing you can find something bad, or for every bad thing you can find something good, but it just, you do one thing and that counters it. Oh, okay, how about this? Well, that counters it. No, it just, you keep offsetting and say, where is the gain for us, you know what I'm saying? And as far as the traffic jams and stuff like that, I don't see that.
That's why Orion, I think, had the right idea to do a row,
Right,
because that's not a very high trafficked,
right.
it's a purely industrial, and it stays hidden, and,
Well, they're in an industrial park though, too, and that's off of the beat. I mean, how many people, that's a cut through, you know?
Right.
But they're not going there, you know, to the local grocery store, or, you know, the local Kmart or Dunham's or something. It's just an industrial park, you go through
Right.
and come. So it's not where people go on a regular basis to do things, so.
right.
So
And it's
that's-
already
it's
zoned
It's an ideal
that
spot for
way.
it, yeah.
And so
Right.
they're already dressed, the wellheads and
Right.
everything else. So that's good to know that Dover is coming, and I'm getting email questions ahead of
And you know,
time.
and then the black market activity, that will never go away. It just-
Oh, no,
yeah.
it's actually thriving right now. And every
Even in
dispensary
Colorado.
will tell you this, because the state is being so restrictive on what they're approving for samples, that people are just going to the black market,
And
because
it's less
it's cheaper.
expensive, it's less expensive.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
the state's restrictions are off, they're just,
So,
they're off the wall. what they
Black
are.
market's probably, so
Thriving.
thank you to the
Yeah.
state.
But it's, until recently, it was all black market, it just,
Well,
like
I
I said,
think
so
it's-
that was established.
It's actually, I think, growing now because of it.
But like you said, you can go back, 30, 40 years ago, before the lottery, the 4-digit and the 3-digit, there was street numbers, and that was big.
Mhm.
The football squares and the auto plants, I mean, that was a, you know, $200,000 or $300,000 a week operation, you know, between college and pro football and stuff. And it just, but you can gamble at the casinos legally, you can play 3 and 4-digit on the lottery, I mean, but there are still illegal card games. There are illegal gambling houses, blind pigs, you know,
Oh, I know,
there's
will always
those
be a
things still
black
exist.
market. I just didn't think that
Doesn't
they
go
help
away.
it grow.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it just, well, yeah, but it's still, like I said, Waterford hasn't opted in, so whatever's going on in Waterford Township technically is illegal.
Unless you're a caregiver, those are still
Technically,
legal.
it's illegal, well, a caregiver,
Which is, yeah.
if what they're doing is legal, you know what I'm saying? How many plants are they supposed to have, have you counted them? I don't know how many it's
Well,
supposed to have.
caregivers can be suppliers now too, we learned that
Right.
at the live.
Again, no, but I say, so it just, it's,
Caregivers always have been supplied.
yes,
But they can be suppliers to the
Right.
dispensaries,
yes,
because,
Oh, really?
yes, they just have to send their sample to the state
get it approved.
and get it approved.
But
and
the
then
state
they can-
regulation is supposed to be really, 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 really
Mhm.
tight, and a lot of that stuff gets bumped back. While I'm waiting, I don't have anything to sell, so, Charlie, come on,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
so
right.
again, that's,
That's what they gotta do doing.
so just, again, they gotta stay in business, so, okay, so, but,
So they're just taking a chance, hoping the state don't come in and do an inspection while they're buying from Charlie, you know? But the money's so great, they're gonna take, they're gonna gamble
They
it.
probably, yeah, figure they can take a hit.
so it's interesting, like you said, that just, if we can talk about this, and talk about it, which has been the topic for a long time, and just things change, like you said, just what you guys look at there, every, different municipalities have different ways of doing things and approaching it, so. Who besides Kego?
I'm trying to
There was
think.
lots of-
You know, Walled Lake, I thought, turned it down also, they.
Yeah,
were-
they did, Walled Lake did.
Yes,
Recreation?
they already
Yeah.
had something
They didn't
there.
want
They had the
any
medical.
more.
They
issue.
did not want any
They
more
didn't want any
there.
more dispensaries.
Okay.
Well, I mean, they already have.
They got
Right.
some
Yeah.
there.
They said they didn't want it to be legal.
Yeah, there's a few municipalities that
They
should.
didn't want it to become
Changed the
legal.
name.
There was three of them here, I thought there was three of them here in Oakland
I
County.
think so, I think you're right. I just keep thinking of
It was
Keegan,
interesting,
but
because it was
that's
the owners of the dispensaries, the current owners, that didn't want it to go through, and I'm like, well, yeah, because it's gonna take away from your business.
Right.
So that made sense. But Pontiac had the referendum for 20. And apparently, Mayor Deidre Waterman is completely against this and has made it very challenging. And other than this mall happening, she hasn't done anything they have not approved any applications. And that was April of 2018 when it went through.
the state
So they're
say,
dragging their.
They're
feet.
dragging their
does
feet.
the state say
there's
there's
no
a
re-
time limit you gotta
No,
approve?
there's
So
no
you can
requirement.
drag it for years
They
then.
could take it to court, I mean, everything can be taken, but
Yeah.
but now they're gonna do
They've
this
been
mall.
dragging their feet, yes,
And-
to stall.
So they're gonna do one gigantic operation.
I
Yeah,
guess
that's what
so,
it sounds
and
like.
Pontiac does have a church every mile.
No, you're right.
So that's kind of helped
We kind
them,
of do too, somewhat.
Yeah.
because you have to
We
be
do have a
within
lot of them.
We have a lot of churches.
so many.
We
And
have
schools.
We have a couple good spots in industrial areas that could be good
Yeah,
for
churches
growing
and schools.
operations. I can think of two, maybe three.
But there's a lot of legal stuff in here that we didn't know if it was necessary and the timeframe.
Well, and again, like I said, you get down the road 6 months, and some of that stuff changes, they're gonna have to rewrite their ordinances to quote update them,
Yeah.
because they're gonna be, and this is gonna change and change and change and change.
Does anybody know what our neighbors, like West Bloomfield, I know Dave Scott, the Wyland Conference, not going over there, but White Lake, what are they doing?
They've opted out. I know.
Clarkston Independence opted out,
Kind of say,
Both medical and recreational.
I
out of
believe so.
everything?
Yes.
I believe so.
I'll ask at the old cats meeting next month.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's just
Is
curious.
it on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, Monday.
Okay, then you'll know by the next meeting then, you
Yeah,
can let us know.
I'll talk to
Okay.
old cats and see what they've done.
Good.
They
I know
talked
a lot of
about
our
it,
neighbors
stuff,
haven't
but-
done it, like
Right.
West Bloomfield, I'm sure they wouldn't allow it over there.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure about White Lake, or Highland, or,
And like I said, and some of the business owners that have approached us and talked to us, from a business standpoint, it does affect your business, because they're taking your business to another municipality, not to that individual, but as far as revenue for the township. Like I said, it's not breaking our backs, it just
No,
isn't.
the
It just
only
isn't.
benefit that we would have is their community action plan.
Right,
well, it's more of a new, bothersome to us to have a dispensary here versus a gas station or a car wash coming into the business. You know, Phil and those guys are already arguing, well, you know, $5,000 fees a little high, car wash don't have to pay it, it's true. You know, the state doesn't, it's not dictating that we have to.
Car washes aren't in violation of federal law, though, are they?
No.
And you don't need a committee to
But
review your
like you said, you know,
application.
one of us gonna bring people into your community to buy food,
Yes.
gas, get car wash. Well, I don't think they're gonna come and get their medicine, go get gas. They might go to McDonald's, who knows, but, you know what I'm saying? Just, I don't see a big, I don't see a big, anything good for us.
Well, like I said,
don't
if
think.
somebody goes to Dunham's to buy a hunting license, they might buy a box of shells or a ball hat or a Red Wing shirt or something like that, but that's within that, and then they leave.
Yeah.
And they go back to wherever they were coming from or to where they go stop. And they may stop and grab a pop or a pack of cigarettes or a bag of chips or something. But
Maybe,
you just-
you know,
You're not
maybe.
talking about bringing an inordinate amount of revenue into your business.
No.
But they, like I said, they come, the same thing, they come to a dispensary or, excuse me, provisioning center, they come in there and they get their marijuana and leave. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily, they may, like say, make a couple of small purchases, but
Well, usually people spend their money in their communities. I'm assuming that a lot of the Waterford businesses are supported by the Waterford residents. You know, I get people that come to my car wash from different communities, and they've got car wash in Independence or whatever, but, you know, I go get my gas at one station over in Waterford.
Yep.
You know, and I go eat at certain restaurants, I don't go
Right.
all over the place, I just don't think, you know, this marijuana thing, people are gonna be spending money here, I just don't really.
But it's just from a business standpoint, if you own that business, and you can't operate in Waterford, you're not gonna make any money because you can't operate. But
Absolutely.
they are gonna go to Pontiac, and they are gonna go here, and they are gonna go there,
Mhm.
you know, or anywhere they're going to, but again. So,
But it is
that's
taxing
from a
on-
business standpoint, that's not from a municipal.
No, you're right.
benefit, Right.
It's taxing on our communities, and also for energy demands,
Mhm.
it's saying, and the police is saying that they can't, they're saying their crimes have increased, and they're showing all the crimes that have increased, such as car thefts and things. They can't pinpoint it to it's because of marijuana, but their crimes have increased
Well, crime's not gonna go down because you have a dispensary in your neighborhood, and if anything's gonna go up. I think.
Right, they're saying the
Right.
car thefts have
Yeah.
increased for whatever reason around the dispensaries, provisionary centers. So if that happens, you have to hire more police officers. I mean,
I have to almost side with Chief Underwood on this issue,
Yeah.
you know, at first I wasn't in agreement with them, but the more I hear, the more confused I get, to be honest with you.
Well, it's
The
kind
whole
of
thing
came, I felt
confused
that way
the
as we were going through the ordinance, we're like, well, what about this? I don't know, this is a legal
Well,
question.
again,
I don't know.
It's tough, it's a silly question, and you say you got one thing figured out, then something else.
Right,
pops up,
there's
and
another
it's
question that comes out of
It's
that.
another
so
blank
confusing.
stare with a question mark, saying, okay, so I got one, but there's 20 other ones I don't have, and it gets
overwhelming and very, very confusing. Like I say, I'm not a lawyer, none of us are lawyers, so we don't know legally what we can do, what we should do. I don't know.
Should I send Gary Dobry what, the markup, the questions that we
Yeah.
have?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
forward that to him,
Okay.
and I said, any questions anybody has, forward them, but don't wait till like
Before.
Friday afternoon or
Right.
Sunday afternoon for
Right.
the Monday board meeting, just send it to him like tomorrow. If you got questions, or you come to you, send them to him.
and he's got someone in his office that's reviewing this, because I'm not sure if he feels that he's the marijuana expert per se.
No, he knows where to go to get answers, but yeah,
Okay.
he got the original
Okay.
groundwork, he took it to an attorney in their office that specializes in, you know, the MMMA, Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, so. Because we've opted out. May, what was it? I don't think it was a Memorial Day meeting, I think it was the one in the middle of the month, where we opted out of recreational marijuana, so. So this is strictly medical. And again, there's two sets of rules for
Yeah.
them, and again, it's just so, you gotta sort all that out too.
May 20th, maybe?
Is that a Monday?
Yes. No, sorry, no, Tuesday, 28th.
28, okay.
And then our
27 back up would be the 13th, would have been the May
May
13th,
13th.
second and fourth.
13th, yeah.
Yeah, so May 13th, I think it was May 13th.
I think so.
Yeah, you just said it wasn't Memorial Day. wasn't it?
So again, it's just, that's where we're at on that, and it's interesting.
It's frustrating.
Well, there's a lot of loose ends.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we don't understand.
Well, like you said, then when you.
And it changes
you-
moment to
Like you said,
moment.
you feel you get a grip on it, then you talk to somebody else, see, wait a minute, I didn't think about that.
Mhm.
And then now we've got this, now we've got
It
that.
depends on who you talk to too. People that wanna come in there and my gosh,
Well, yeah,
So this application that they fill out, do we develop the application for them? And are there gonna be questions in that application?
I think
is there a
it's
standard
a state, I think
application?
it's a state application, like, I think they have to now be state approved, which is a whole, like, $15,000 process in itself, because they do the criminal background check and everything. But that's a good question.
Well, like the
They
que-
all talk about the application process.
Well, let's just say, for instance, somebody wants to have a growing facility here in Waterford. How large is it gonna be? How many plants are you gonna grow?
That's
How
what
much
you have to
water
put
is
well,
required?
depending on what your license is, you can grow, was it 500, 1,500, 2,500, or whatever it is, depending A, B, or
There are-
C.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there
so
are
you
cutoffs.
can- there are,
But
that's
we need-
controlled by the
There's
state.
different
And we need to know, how much water is gonna be needed monthly? How much
Well, I mean,
Actually,
they,
heat or air
before
conditioning?
if they, say they make it through the application process, they then have to get approval from the planning commission. That's within everyone. And they have to follow fire code
Mhm.
and all that information has to be submitted
And then
to process all
what you're
that.
gonna use for water and also for, water discharge, sewage,
Yes, you have to have.
that's gonna be in your specs ahead of time, so you know what size
The
water service.
discharge
you're gonna
plan
Yeah.
has to be
Sure,
used,
accommodate.
so they do, I mean, it's like opening, an industrial
An industrial
place.
facility.
Exactly, and they're all held to the same standard.
Remember the first restaurant we worked on there after Waterford was in the water system and seeing the water service came to a restaurant. Looked like everybody else's sewer line, and seeing coming in and holy cow, It's like a 3 or 4 inch line coming in to furnish water. But you got your fire suppression system and you got your kitchens and your bathrooms and, just sprinkling systems and stuff. And it's an inordinate amount of water that comes into there. And then, of course, in the sewer line, running 4 inches is 8 or 10 inch going out to a 24-inch main along the road. So it was kind of an eye opener. You used to see, a 1-inch main water line coming in the house and 4-inch sewer line, and just all of a sudden you see, holy cow. But then you look at all the specs and stuff, and that's, the demand for water can be there, and you gotta be able to meet that, so. But again, so that would be in the specs ahead of time when they come in, the architectural specs of the building for fire suppression, sprinkling system for the plants and stuff, whatever it might be, it's gonna be, really seems to be a lot of water, but again, it's metered, and they're gonna pay accordingly, so.
Well, so then, if they submit drawings for planning, for permit, they get permit fees, so there's some revenue made to support the staff in planning.
Yeah,
Well,
no, it's the same for
revenue
any.
to offset the
Right.
costs.
Yeah.
Except
It's
for
That
$5,000.
It can be an annual fee.
The 5,000 is annual.
Yes.
Yes, it's an
It
annual.
is an annual fee.
So how do you disperse that? Fire department?
Well, it goes in the
Kim's
general
Kim's
fund.
department that
Kim's
has to vet
staff is
them.
gonna have to handle all that
Well,
stuff?
they said it comes to the general fund, and then that's what
Then
we,
we'll dispense it.
that's what we have, the
Yeah.
company that comes and does the audit every year, they determine how those funds, we can, but, they make the adjustments on it, you know what I'm saying, to where they are, but you
Through
can,
the budget process.
Yeah.
but like I said, when you look at what was the number I told you, 76,000 short, of funding themselves on permit fees and license fees,
Mhm.
development services, they bring in a lot of money, through the planning commission, the zoning board of appeals and stuff, permit fees, licensing fees and stuff, there's a lot of money comes in there. Reinspection fees, there's a lot of money, plus code enforcement, and then violations and stuff through court enforcement, and the building department that come from the court revenues that come from that. They don't get the whole amount, but the court gets, as the schools get some, the county, the state, federal government, whoever reaches
Everybody's got
in,
their hands out.
takes the green stuff, and we get the jingles that's left over, but
We get the crumbs.
Is there anything in the ordinance about the building has to be owned or can it be leased?
That's stuff that.
Live is leased.
It would
Live
depend,
is leased.
if we do create an overlay of the spots that they can have it, do they wanna
What
lease
did
the
he
building,
say?
or do they wanna
Lease,
buy
they
it?
said. The live, was it in here, lease, they said?
Who's that?
Live,
The Ferndale.
yeah.
Did they,
Was
I
that?
think it was a
That was a
10-year,
10-year
yeah,
lease.
Is that a
yeah.
lease?
were they really?
Oh, yeah,
They do
it's a lease.
leases, yeah.
They had to build that diamond vault though, which was a couple $1,000s to get, insurance.
Oh,
So would
it's
they
an-
invest
it's-
that much
it's
money
an-
in that
Yes,
if they
not
weren't gonna own it?
Sure, why wouldn't they? The money they're gonna pull in,
No.
just cost of doing business.
So they bring in 10,000 and only claim 3,000 because it's all cash, right? They just paid for their.
I could have done it that way, who
You
knows how
don't
they do
know
it,
because it's a cash business.
Well, one of the people we had talked to, one of the people that brought a proposal, to me, we're talking, and they were looking like $865,000 investment to get up and running in a provisioning center, just.
Sure.
That was to own the
Oh, sure.
building.
To
and
own
get
it?
Yeah, to own the building and get, remodel and stuff, and I tell you what, I think they made a little bit light on that. I think they'd be closer to $1 million than they would that, by the time you do fire suppression. And again, there's a big difference, and the more drainage you have, the bigger the water feed, the bigger the sewer lead has to go up. It just, one gets bigger, the other gets bigger, because your chance of discharge, the water is gonna be greater, your sewer line has to be able to handle it.
So that facility property tax be basically the same as an industrial building?
Yes.
Yes.
It wouldn't be any different.
And that vault over there at Ferndale, Karen, they might have made a deal with the landlord and said, hey, we'll sign a 10-year lease versus a 5-year, you build my vault for, I say, it's gonna be
They could've, yeah. He said, he said it was really expensive in most places for going.
I mean, if I was
But-
a landlord, I'd like that 10-year lease, sounds really good.
But they
You know, I
can't get
know
insurance on their stash if they don't have it in a diamond vault.
Okay.
So that vault, that's their money that's put in that
Yeah,
vault?
yeah. Well, in their inventory,
product,
it's their
yeah.
inventory.
Product, yeah,
Yes.
money, everything goes in the vault.
Yes.
When we went back in that back room, I don't remember.
That was the vault.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those we saw, yeah.
That whole back room is.
Yeah.
It's the vault.
It looked pretty,
But I remember
pretty
that door.
flimsy to me.
I remember that door when
Okay.
it had a light, a window in it. When you walked in, there was a window in it. So, because we were standing out there, I could look in there and see the shelves with all the stuff in it. All those old vials.
Yeah, that was the vault.
They're flowers.
Buds.
But,
No, they're called flowers now, they call them flowers.
well.
Didn't you notice
Oh.
that? They used to be the buds.
We're reverting back to the 60s or what?
But he was describing them as flowers, right? I
A
was like,
party
wow,
flower they get, yeah.
You had some, he sent a dozen home to his wife. and-
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, because you hear about, like I said, because destroying the money in the vaults, you hear about the money reeks of marijuana. It just,
Oh, I bet.
That was Art's story, yeah.
it's stored together, it just is.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I said, it's pretty hard not to go anywhere anymore, anywhere. I don't care where you're going, through parking lots, grocery store, drugstore, corner gas station.
You smell it all over.
You smell it, you just
When
do.
I was teaching, they'd come in from the smoke break and who brought the skunk in the
Yeah.
room?
Oh, yeah, some of that stuff, he's let us smell some of that.
I know.
It was like skunky.
Well, John Tom said that's the new perfume odor in the quarter.
Mhm. Yep.
Ode skunk.
Oh, the skunk.
I believe it.
Oh,
Odie flower.
Skunk de toilette.
Toilet.
I'll give you guys a little news on my side of town. They tore down the crusher today, the cement crusher at the mall I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
They're packing that up. All that's left out there is piles of steel.
so they finished crushing the concrete?
Yeah, it's done,
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
done.
They said the date they were shooting for was mid-November, so that's,
They're done, they're packing up
Everybody
today. I
on
go
schedule?
by there today, the thing was down, they're getting ready to haul that
I
out.
probably wish the snow had held off a week, or they got
Yeah.
done a week
I
earlier.
go by there this morning and the mountains of steel look like mountains,
The snow.
snow on it. But they should be hauling that out pretty shortly, so it's flat, what a sight.
Yes.
Very, very, very cool to see.
As they moved from the north to the south, they kept clearing behind them or something, it's asphalt.
Yeah.
Light poles are all gone now, right?
Yeah, they're all
Light poles are all
gone. They weren't supposed to be gone either, because I talked to Robert about them. Somebody I know
It's metal.
with the baseball league, well, they wanted them for their little league field that they had. Robert was, hey, I can't touch those, but they're all down. I just
They're all
noticed that the other day.
And you just stop and think, I was the other day, we were somewhere, there was a pole, and you could look inside there and see all the wires there, and you take all the wires, to
Copper
pull,
wire,
to
yeah.
pull, to pull, to pull, to pull,
Oh,
to pull,
sure.
to pull. There had to be tons of copper wire, there, tons of it.
You know what you're looking at there,
Oh,
Gary,
yeah.
and you know how you got all the roads and everything going through the blacktop?
Mhm.
What was left of it, they took that concrete and just spread it right across there. Why'd they do that? It just,
Fill in the holes?
there's a pothole?
Yeah, fill in the
possibly, yeah,
potholes, I
I mean,
guess.
yeah, I was just surprised, I thought they were backfilling the basement with all that.
They backfilled to 4 feet, the top
To
4 feet,
4
that's
feet,
the
yeah.
dirt, remember they brought that
Sand.
dirt in, yep,
I think it was stir sand, wasn't it?
just sand, yep.
And there's a few piles here and there, but, I mean, it's looking really, really good. Hopefully that metal will be out of there.
That way you get on 42 inches with the footing, you're not gonna get crushed concrete, so.
Yeah, okay.
That's a good base, but like I said, you can't trench crushed concrete and then the footing not get 8 feet wide, you know what I'm saying? It just keeps caving and caving and
Yeah.
caving where the dirt will be.
Oh, they put truckloads and truckloads and truckloads of like crushed concrete in that Macy's basement.
Oh, yeah.
That must have, I can't believe how big that place
I
was.
think it was a
The
bomb
base.
crater, yeah, it was huge.
Holy smokes, I mean, it had to be a couple thousand truckloads, if not more.
Oh, how many, what was it, the water in that thing?
They said it was like 4 foot,
4 feet of
6
water.
foot.
No, I mean,
In the basement.
Oh, in the basement.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, there was over 1 million gallons.
Yeah, I remember something about that. We
The
had to
gallons
pay
are cubic feet,
extra,
I forget what it was, but it
I
was,
believe,
I knew it was
to
gallons.
pump all that out.
was it
Well,
gallons?
they were
In the
pumping that right into the
sewage.
sewer system.
Yes.
Right along,
Yes.
they went from north to south, a little bit.
Yeah.
and They tapped into the sewer over
Because it was
there.
metered,
Yeah.
it was metered,
Yeah.
that, the flow on
Yeah.
that was metered, and I forget, it
It made a
was.
spike charge.
Yeah. And then the VP gas station opened up, the old McDonald's there. Even though nothing
Yeah,
was-
I saw that the other day.
That's
with-
great.
You see the tore off the facade of that insurance building?
Yeah,
Or
Jonah's
1500.
getting word, they've gotten the place now.
Are they?
And the old Elizabeth Lake Road, there's an old office building next to the dentist office by Waterford Party Store. It's Michigan Dermatology Institute. And that's all up and running beautifully, did a beautiful job on that. And you're talking about putting water in there, but they were in DPW and a contractor was out there a week, 2 weeks, putting in a, looked like sewer line from across the street, all the way in there, there's a new fire hydrant. So they got that all up and running, but it looks like really a nice looking building now.
Yep, and the dermatology office over there on Cass Lake Road.
Oh, yeah, that's going
That
up through, they're
structure's
putting the windows in the
Oh,
other day,
yeah.
go by there, yeah.
The structure's
Right
up
by
and
the
the
bridge
windows
there.
are in, yep. That's a nice looking building,
Yeah,
really nice looking building.
it's gonna be real nice. I drove by there about 3 or 4 days ago and they put windows on
Yep, that's a good looking
See,
building there.
59, that old bookstore, the building right next door, King.
That's gone,
they
yeah.
Torn down.
I did see that.
there. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
It was,
leather and lace, I think they called it.
No.
wasn't that the geek teaching,
With a
the
bookstore.
Greek, the Greek? It was it was
The
like a
dark-
retro clothes.
the
Is
dark
that
side
right?
of Kink.
Yeah, that was what.
What was it?
The dark side of King.
That's what,
Yeah.
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 Right.
Oh.
That's
then
the one-
wasn't it?
That's the one, police, fire,
Yeah.
DPW, building department, that's the one they raided over there.
That big
And now it's gone.
camp.
Well, again, like I said, that there was nothing in that building legal, and they wrote a bunch of violations, stuff they didn't hear to, so they went to court. And the court, the option was you know, pay the fines or tear it down, and so they tore it down,
Oh, really?
you
Yeah,
know?
the guy that owns the bookstore owned that building. He was the one that was throwing the parties.
The old front page bookstore, yeah.
Also,
Well, yeah, they told me about that raid,
I know, Chief Underwood told me about it.
that was different.
I mean, King,
What's one not to think he's gonna do that in the bookstore now?
who knows?
Well, you're right. Nice piece of property, I mean, you got the lake out there, the wetlands out in front of
They
it.
could put another bowling alley in there.
Yeah, the old Lakewood Lanes, that's vacant still, where that burned.
I couldn't believe that place. When I came back from California, bowling in there, and I got these columns in between some of the lanes.
Yeah.
Never seen it. Mostly it's all clear span.
Well, it was probably built in the 30s.
Yeah, who knows? I don't even think it was a bowling alley when it first was built.
Oh, no?
I think they made it into a bowling alley. They said, well, there we go, we got to between the lanes now, that pole's there, so.
Well, I'll date myself. When I was a youngster, I was getting ready to go to school. I went to Donaldson. My mom said, look out the front window. I looked out the front window, the sky was red. The old Huron bowling alley was burning down. That's where Huron Foods is now.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
used to be bowling alley there, and it was enormous. Boy, those lanes, when those catch on
Yeah,
fire.
they're all-
Well, that's the one over there, the old airway lanes, the guy had them out back there burning them. He had piled the things up, had bonfires going back there. That stuff, you talk about something that burns, jeez, oh geez.
I know.
Between the varnish and the synthetic they put on it now and stuff, that stuff is so flammable. That's like those composite decks, when those things catch fire, they
Oh, is
burn,
that
I
right?
mean, Norton level of heat, oh, they burn hot. They burn
Really?
so
The
hot.
Trex deck?
Trex deck.
Really?
Yes, they do.
Well, Trex is a brand name,
Yeah,
composite
right.
decking, yeah, no, it's,
Composite decking.
that stuff burns, when it gets going, it burns so
But isn't it
hot.
sort of like plastic, composite?
It is, yep,
Oil bakes, I believe.
it burns, it burns.
So Kim, how did the
Election.
absentee ballot go?
It was all
How many
right.
did
It
you
was
get?
very late. I need to go back and double check. Over 6,700 returned. We sent out over 10,700. And it was similar to a presidential one.
Overall,
So 1070, you got 6, 7 back?
Yes.
So 4,000 people didn't vote then.
They just saw the one question, and they said, forget this, I'm not sending it back, why waste a stamp, something like that, right?
Mhm.
So we didn't get all of those back. Actually, we're still receiving them. They obviously do not know the rules, because at 8 PM, we checked the box.
Oh, wait there, huh?
There's a
It's that darn medical or recreational marijuana.
So we're still getting in a bunch of ballots.
What was the voter turnout? percentage-wise,
The percent-wise was only like, it depends on the precinct. I don't think it was much more than 20% on average any place.
I voted in my precinct, it was 11 hours and 12 minutes into the day, and I was the 68th voter.
Yes,
Oh.
most of them only had like around 100 people that
That
showed
was
up.
Mason, that's a big
Yeah,
precinct.
yeah.
Yeah.
I did absentee this year.
Yeah, 11 hours, 12 minutes into the day.
It's
and I was
easy
the
to do
68th.
absentee.
I love doing
Oh,
that.
Yes.
No, my husband signed up for absentee, but he was before all this went through. I don't think he ever got it back. Should he have gotten one or no? Did he have to request it?
Yeah, so you get your application form first.
No, he already applied here because he's over 65.
Well, no, you get on the list, he's on the list, so we then have to mail out an application each election.
Oh, you do?
We have to mail out an application for each election, asking, do you want us to mail you a ballot? Because some
Okay.
people's addresses change, some people become
So even though
deceased.
he's on the list,
They
he
have to
has to
return
confirm
that.
that he wants one. Okay.
Yeah, and they have to make sure they've signed it.
Okay.
And then once we have that back into the office saying they want it and they've signed,
Did you sign it?
then we can send them a ballot.
Next time I see a Mark, I'll say, Mark, remember all those years you went to the polls, how it worked? Just keep going.
Well, it's not at Cooley anymore. It used to be a 5-house walk, and now it's over at Kettering, so.
Yeah, because we
That's what
combine
they make-
precincts.
That's what they make a gasoline powered vehicle for, so you can drive there.
We
I
sent,
go vote at the polls because I have fun doing the polls.
we
I
sent
do
at
too.
least
But
10,000
he-
per
You probably-
precinct
you
when
didn't
we
have to
closed
stand in
it.
line, did you?
No, actually, I didn't. But my son, he's absentee because he was at school. He's not at school anymore, but he can.
So
He won't go to
they'll
the-
be coming out like in
Well-
January, your applications
Okay.
for the
Right.
presidential primary. If you're signed up on the permanent absentee voters list. Your application will probably be mailed to you sometime in January. Look for it in the mail, send it back saying I want to vote, and then we'll send you a ballot for the presidential
Is that
primary.
April, primary?
It's March 10th. March 10th. The next one will be August 4th after that, and that's the state primary. And for those, we'll send something out probably like in June timeframe. And that will be a dual question, like, do you want a ballot for August and do you want a ballot for November? So it will be a combined request. So, and then you can either say August only, or you can say November only, or you can say both.
Plus, if you go to the polls and there's somebody that recognizes it, doesn't like you, say, I'm not voting for you.
No?
But you get to find some people
Power to
in
the
person.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, you know, there's a lot of options there going to the polls, you know that, you go to the polls.
I was able to
I
get
like
to
going to the
everyone,
polls.
every precinct, the 16 locations that we have up and running. That's a pretty big area to cover and check.
Wait till you put signs at each one of them.
Yeah, I know, I did
Yeah,
put some
good
out.
times.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did put some of those out. And, yeah, there's a few things that we need to work on, such as letting people in the building and not having to stand in line outside, but
And then when you get all the kinks out, there'll be more.
there will be more, there'll be others.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Then there'll be more,
You're correct.
and then there'll be more. And the hits just keep on coming. CKLW, don't see